Good morning. I'm Susan Pertnoy here with Barbara Kay. Welcome to Mosaic, Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's weekly news magazine show.
Now in our 40th season, Mosaic explores Jewish issues here in the Palm Beaches and around the world.
Before World War II, Poland was home to a vibrant Jewish community. In the city of Krakow, tens of thousands of Jews were slaughtered during the Holocaust.
Today we're talking with a leader of Krakow's Jewish community who is leading a major comeback to help Jewish life flourish again in Poland.
We'll be right back with Mosaic after this brief commercial break.
If it wasn't for the financial assistance, I couldn't come here.
Every little bit helps. She says, I get stronger every day.
When you have a child and you want the absolute best for them, it's twice as important to make the community strong.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I could have bought my BMW anywhere, but at Freeman, I love my salesman, my BMW, and Club Freeman.
It's the Season of Love sales event. Enjoy exceptional offers at Braman BMW, West Palm Beach and Jupiter. BramanBMW.com.
The Live-In Palace at Morse Life is leasing luxury residences for ages 65 plus, offering more than first-class amenities and white glove service. Life at the Palace is like life aboard a luxury cruise ship with more things to enjoy life now. More fabulous food, more fun, more friends, more family, more freedom, more future. Morse Life is more life. Live it at the Palace. Start your fabulous future now. Call 561-537-3402.
There are few experiences that bring a family closer than an adventure in the land of Israel. Enjoy the magic of Hanukkah with your children or grandchildren on Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's unforgettable, tailor-made journey through Israel's most magnificent sites and cities. It's happening December 22nd to 29th, 2019. Learn more and reserve your spot with the information on your screen. We're here with the Executive Director of the Krakow JCC, Jonathan Ornstein. Welcome to Mosaic and welcome to our Mandel JCC.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Tell me, how does a nice Jewish boy from Forest Hills, New York wind up in Krakow, Poland? Will you tell us your story?
It's not the most direct path. I agree. As I made Aliyah after college, I decided to go to Israel. Or actually, I went there just for a year, fell in love with the country, decided to make Aliyah. I joined the army, was in the IDF for a couple of years, and during my service, I was a lone soldier on a kibbutz. After I finished the army, I went back to the kibbutz, which was in the middle of the desert near Eilat, and was deciding if I would stay on the kibbutz or move to Tel Aviv. I met a Polish woman, fell in love, and sight unseen, I moved to Poland. This was 2001, and it didn't work out with her, and I fell in love with Krakow, and I stayed. I've been there ever since.
And what was the tone of the region like in 2001 when you moved to Poland in terms of Jewish aspect?
It was very different than today. I mean, obviously, you know, the country had just regained its independence in 1989, so it was really, you know, an old nation, but a very young country. And from the Jewish point of view, there wasn't that much going on. I think the biggest difference is there wasn't really hope. There were Jews, there was a community, there were older people, but I don't think there was this feeling of that there might be a future there, that there was something to build upon.
So tell us the genesis of the JCC in Krakow. What is the story behind it?
It's a unique, I think it's a unique story in the JCC world. So in 2002, Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, was visiting Krakow, and he came to the Jewish quarter, which is called Kazimierz, which is the best preserved Jewish quarter anywhere in Europe. We have 7 renovated pre-war synagogues. Wow. It's really phenomenal. The youngest is from 1862, and the oldest is from the 15th century.
All preserved?
All beautifully preserved. And all, you can leave our JCC, go to all 7 and be back in a 10-minute walk. So all very in a small area. Right. Yeah. So Prince Charles visited. He met with some survivors. He was very moved by their history, first surviving the Holocaust and then outlasting communism. and he asked how we could help them. And they said, we have all these beautiful synagogues, we have a place to pray, but we don't have is a place to be together, like a senior citizen center. And Prince Charles promised to help them realize their dream. And he went back to London and he got involved with an organization called World Jewish Relief, which is kind of like the Joint, the JDC, kind of like the UK version of the JDC. And they, together with the JDC, took a look at Krakow, and they realized it wasn't only this older survivor community that was starting to trail off, that there were young people who were finding out about their Jewish roots. They would meet in a pub and they'd say, are we the only Jews? No, a guy I work with, someone I went to school with, I think he's Jewish, this one. And 2 became 4, became 6. And World Jewish Relief tapped into that, and they saw that there was perhaps a future there. And they went back to Prince Charles, which is really quite a bold thing to do. They were thrilled that he had approached them. When the prince comes to your organization, it's a good thing. Yes. And they said, we'd love to do something, but maybe instead of doing something only for the survivors, we can do something sort of with a broader reach to help revive the community. Prince Charles said okay, and he got involved, and with the prince's involvement, as you would imagine, the project became a lot more viable, and they were able to raise the money to build the JCC. And in 2008, we were opened by Prince Charles and Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall. Oh,
you personally spent time with them then?
I was the prince's host for the day, which was a pretty special way to spend the day.
That is special. So how did you become the executive director there?
My wife tells me to stop saying this, but I joke that I was the only one in the country who knew what the initials JCC stood for. But no, I'd been living there. I spoke some Polish. I'd been involved with the community, and somehow I got the job. I didn't really have much of a background in anything like that, and I guess it's worked out okay so far.
So you've been there. You've just celebrated your 10th anniversary.
We're in our 10th anniversary year. Yeah.
That's really very prideful. What is the mandate of your JCC?
We're there to rebuild Jewish life in Krakow, in a city with a 700-year-old Jewish community that was devastated by the Holocaust and then driven underground during communism, and now it's being reborn. And we're rebuilding Jewish life, and we're also, at the same time, welcoming visitors from all over the world. We had 140,000 visitors in 2018, and we're trying to show the world that Jewish life continues in Poland. And Poland is not only a place of Jewish tragedy and a place of Jewish history, but also a place with the Jewish present and hopefully a bright Jewish future.
Many of us are very surprised that there are any Jews left in Poland in light of the ravages of the Holocaust and communism. Why did these people stay, and who are they?
Yeah, so it's interesting because in some other communities, like in Germany, which is also a growing community in Europe, actually the 2 growing Jewish communities in Europe are Poland and Germany, which is really somewhat ironic. In Germany, it's made up mostly of immigrants from the former Soviet Union. But in Poland, we're talking about Polish Jews who didn't leave after the Holocaust. We think of all the survivors. We understand there were survivors. They left. They came here. They went anywhere they could, any country that would really take them after the war, and rebuilt their lives. And for us, that's usually the end of the narrative. But some Jews stayed. They couldn't travel. They felt, they felt comfortable in Poland. They didn't want to leave.
Did they intermarry or something?
They stayed in Poland. They very often intermarried, and during the difficult years of communism, they essentially went underground and they started to hide their identities. They often changed their names and didn't even let their own families know that they were Jewish. And in the 30 years since communism ended, you have people start to tell stories, and the people really are coming out of the closet now are
these Jews.
Yes, and the children.
I have to
and
stop you right now. We have to take a break. We'll be back with Jonathan after this brief message. Coming up, more with our fascinating guest, Jonathan Ornstein, about the remarkable stories of Polish people who are just now discovering their Jewish roots.
Eat, drink, and enjoy Shabbat services at Temple Bethel's Friday night happenings. Cocktail reception and kosher dinner at 5:30, followed by our creative, musically driven Shabbat service. Traditional to progressive, the food and music change every Friday, and you'll want to stay for complimentary dessert.
Plan to spend the whole evening here, and you'll walk away and you'll say, wow, we're coming back next week. Welcome. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat services at Temple Bethel, open to everyone. Join us every Friday night.
We have over 100 Porsches out of the sun and rain in our 6-story parking garage.
So it's easy to find your dream car at Porsche West Palm Beach.
Porsche West Palm Beach, the #1 Porsche certified pre-owned center with the largest selection in Florida. Visit BremenPorsche.com.
The Live-In Palace at Morse Life is leasing luxury residences for ages 65 plus, offering more than first-class amenities and white glove service. Life at the Palace is like life aboard a luxury cruise ship with more things to enjoy life now. More fabulous food, more fun, more friends, more family, more freedom, more future. Morse Life is more life. Live it at the Palace. Start your fabulous future now. Call 561-537-3402.
There are few experiences that bring a family closer than an adventure in the land of Israel. Enjoy the magic of Hanukkah with your children or grandchildren on Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's unforgettable, tailor-made journey through Israel's most magnificent sites and cities. It's happening December 22nd to 29th, 2019. Learn more and reserve your spot with the information on your screen. We're back with Jonathan Ornstein, the JCC Executive Director, discussing the Jews in Poland and how the resurgence of the Jewish population, especially in Krakow. And you were talking about how they went underground. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, during communism, at certain points, it had its ups and downs, and at a certain point, it became very difficult to be Jewish. And the Jews who had stayed, the Polish Holocaust survivors and their families who had stayed after the war, then had to make a choice to either leave Poland or to stay, and the ones who stayed went underground. And now in the 30 years, and they changed their names, as I was saying, hid their identities, and now in the 30 years since Poland regained its independence in 1989, people are finding out they're Jewish. So these are the children, grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren of the Polish Holocaust survivors who stayed after the war.
Just to give the significance of how vibrant the Jewish population was before the war. Can you give us a little history about that?
Poland has 1,000 years of Jewish history. Krakow has over 700 years of documented Jewish life in the city. And by 1939, on the eve of World War II, Poland was 10% Jewish. That's
enormous.
3.5 million Jews living in Poland. 60% of the lawyers, 40% of the doctors in pre-war Poland were Jewish. The cities were overwhelmingly Jewish. You know, we think often about pre-war Poland. Sometimes we have these photos, these images in our mind of sort of shtetl life only and the Jews being separate, which is part of the story. But Jews were also very, very much part of the urban life in Poland. Warsaw was a third Jewish. Krakow, my city, was a quarter Jewish before the war.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So tell us some of the activities that you have currently in your JCC.
So our JCC is it's really one-stop shopping for all Jewish life in the city. It's almost, I think it's what would happen if you kept the JCC open and then closed every other, God forbid, close every other Jewish institution in town, what the JCC becomes. So we are taking care of our Holocaust survivors. We have 60 Holocaust survivors that are in our building every day until 8, 9 p.m. at night with all different activities for them with dedicated space in the building.
What do you do for them?
They have arts and crafts, they have yoga, they have physical rehabilitation, they have language classes. We have senior university where the lecturers from the university come and teach them different subjects. If they need help with, if they need financial support, we're also like Federation, the ones who are providing them with help for their heating bills or help for their rent and things like that. So really everything going on for the survivors is almost everything going on in our building. We're also taking care of our youngest community members. We opened a preschool a year ago, which is the first Jewish community school to open in over 70 years in Krakow.
You have enough members to be able to have a preschool? That's quite something. I mean, think about it. You have a lot of young Jewish families there.
Absolutely. That's something that's starting to happen. And a lot of them are families that actually met at the JCC. And now there is a demonstrated need, and we opened the school a year ago, and it's doubled in size in 1 year.
You must tell us about the fact that you have a genealogist on staff, and you help people when they find out that they're Jewish. Can you tell us some significant stories that might stand out in your mind?
Sure. So one that's really very dramatic is a woman walked into my office, walked into the JCC and wanted to speak to a rabbi. Unfortunately, there was no rabbi around that day. I was as close as you get. So she came and started to speak to me, and she was very nervous at first, and she told the story that not long before, her grandmother had called her to come over her house and said, I have to tell you something that she'd never told anyone before. And she said how she was a little girl in the ghetto, she was hidden, And one night her parents took her, this is the grandmother, took her to the edge of the ghetto without any warning, handed her over to a stranger who brought her through the ghetto and brought her over to a couple that raised her as their own daughter. And the last thing her mother said to her as she said goodbye, which was the final goodbye, was never tell anyone you're Jewish. And this grandmother, the young girl at the time, kept her promise, got married, children, grandchildren, career, and for 70 years never told a soul that she was Jewish until she sat her eldest grandchild down and told this young woman, who then walked into my office looking at me, was still in shock about finding out, and asked what she should do. And her grandmother wanted her to explore her identity, and we've helped her do that, and since then she's become a very active part of the Jewish community.
Don't you also have a very personal story?
I do.
A connection to a very personal story?
I do. My wife, Kasha, we got married a year and a half ago, grew up without knowing she was Jewish. Her sister got involved actually with a genealogist and found out that there was Jewish roots in the family. And her sister was very involved with the community even before the JCC opened. And then the JCC opened, her sister started working in the JCC as a volunteer and then helping us with our Shabbat dinners. We do Shabbat dinner every week at the JCC. And she tried to get her sister involved, and her sister wasn't too interested. Finally, she brought her to the JCC for a Hanukkah party. We met, she became a little bit more interested in her Jewish roots and started to help her sister and find ways to be in the JCC, and we became a couple, and as I said, got married a year and a half ago.
That's amazing.
And now she does all the catering. She's a chef and she does catering. We do thousands and thousands of kosher meals a year, and groups come and people visit us and they eat a meal at the JCC, and my wife Kasha is the one who does all the food.
You're very proud.
I'm very proud.
It's a great story. You have such a unique situation where you even have the non-Jewish population extraordinarily involved in your JCC. You have over 50 volunteers that just come in because they want to be a part of the excitement. It's really wonderful.
I think it's something very special that if you think about young people finding out they're Jewish, they don't necessarily have to act on it, but they're acting upon it because there's an environment in Poland, especially in Krakow, that's conducive to Jewish life, and that's because of non-Jews that are really helping us rebuild and are so involved and care about the Jewish heritage and the Jewish future of their city.
So I have to shift gears for a second. What is your connection to Palm Beach County?
Well, first of all, I love Palm Beach, especially since it's January, and it's a very nice time to be down here. But my connection really started with a phenomenal person, one of the really most remarkable people I've ever met, who's Bruce Gendelman, who's a proud Palm Beach resident.
And we are now going to take one more break, and when we come back, we will have an opportunity to speak with Bruce Gendelman.
Coming up, we'll hear from a local artist and philanthropist about how it's helping to bring Krakow's Jewish community back to its greatness.
If it wasn't for the financial assistance, I couldn't come here.
Every little bit helps. She says, I get stronger every day.
When you have a child and you want the absolute best for them, it's twice as important to make the community strong.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I could have bought my BMW anywhere, but at Freeman, I love my salesman, my BMW, and Club Freeman.
It's the Season of Love sales event. Enjoy exceptional offers at Raymond BMW, West Palm Beach and Jupiter. RaymondBMW.com.
There are few experiences that bring a family closer than an adventure in the land of Israel. Enjoy the magic of Hanukkah with your children or grandchildren on Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's unforgettable, tailor-made journey through Israel's most magnificent sites and cities. It's happening December 22nd to 29th, 2019. Learn more and reserve your spot with the information on your screen.
We have over 100 Porsches out of the sun and rain in our 6-story parking garage.
So it's easy to find your dream car at Porsche West Palm Beach.
Porsche West Palm Beach, the #1 Porsche certified pre-owned center with the largest selection in Florida. Visit BraemanPorsche.com.
Eat, drink, and enjoy Shabbat services at Temple Bethel's Friday night happenings. Cocktail reception and kosher dinner at 5:30, followed by our creative, musically driven Shabbat service. Traditional to progressive, the food and music change every Friday, and you'll want to stay for complimentary dessert.
Plan to spend the whole evening here, and you'll walk away and you'll say, wow, we're coming back next week. Welcome. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat services at Temple Bethel, open to everyone. Join us every Friday night.
In celebration of Mosaic's 40th season, take a look at this classic clip from our archives. This sense of concern about indifference, indifference to evil, indifference to suffering, is that the epicenter really of your life?
It has become the most important element in my work. In my fourth book in the novel called The Town Beyond the Wall, I described the bystander. At that time I divided categories in three: the perpetrator, the victim, and the bystander, the spectator as I called him. And I described the spectator who is there simply to see, never to move, never to be moved, just to see. And I felt that he or she represents the context of evil, if not evil itself. Evil is possible because of the bystander.
Yeah, you know, you said something that was quite beautiful. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference.
Yes, but I continue. The opposite of ignorance is, of education is not ignorance, but indifference. The opposite of beauty is not ugliness, but indifference to ugliness and beauty. And the opposite of life really is not death, but indifference to life and to death.
Joining us is Bruce Gendelman, prominent member of our Jewish community, philanthropist, and artist. Welcome to Mosaic, Bruce.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Tell us about your connection to Jonathan in Krakow.
Like many things in life, it was an accident. I took a trip to Krakow with my sister and brother-in-law in 2015, and my brother-in-law became a sculptor and had a beautiful sculpture that he wanted to place at the JCC. So he was telling me about Jonathan and the role of the JCC, and I said, I need to come and be there with you. And once I was there, I was so taken with not only the story of what Jonathan's done in the JCC, but feeling the impact of the history of the Jews in Poland and in Kashmir and nearby in Auschwitz-Birkenau.
Is that what motivated you to create that I don't know, it's a multimedia type of experience?
Yeah, after I went and we spent a week in Krakow, I came back and was very disturbed at the history of what happened to our people in Poland. And I had taken some photographs and I decided to do some paintings, and the paintings ended up becoming these very large-scale paintings, and then I did some very large-scale sculptural installations. And when I told Jonathan about them, he said, this is something we should bring back to Krakow. And Jonathan and the JCC were very kind to sponsor my art exhibition at the Jewish Festival in Krakow, which is the world's largest Jewish festival, and that occurred this last year in June. And it was a very emotional and remarkable experience to bring work about the history of the Jews and the Holocaust back into Krakow.
As a matter of fact, you came with a whole contingency from Palm Beach. I can't even imagine what that must have felt like.
Without asking anybody, a lot of friends wanted to support me, and so we developed, we had 65 people that came, mostly from Palm Beach, but from other places as well. And thanks to the JCC, who basically acted like a travel agent for us. They arranged every detail from meals to buses to tour guides, and it was this unbelievably impactful experience. And I would encourage anyone who has any interest in the history of our people and the future of our people to come to Krakow, to go to the JCC, to meet with Jonathan, and to see what has become of our people and the future as well.
Jonathan, what was your constituents' reaction to Bruce's art?
Well, people were really blown away. I mean, you have to also remember that this is a place that's an hour's drive from Auschwitz, and that we're sort of bombarded all the time with the Holocaust. And I think that it takes a lot to really move these people that are in contact with the Holocaust and art and literature and things about the Holocaust all the time. But Bruce's exhibition, Bruce's works were so powerful that it really had such a tremendous impact on the community. Just the the scale and the depth and the thought put into it, and just the the real vision I think that Bruce had. That his perspective on things is always so fascinating, and when he came to Krakow and to Auschwitz and saw what he saw, then turned his eye on those things. It was really something remarkable, and our community was just blown away.
I'm sure. Tell me about your style of post-witness Holocaust art. Is that what it?
Yes, I basically came up with this term because I'm very concerned, like many people, that most of the survivors are gone or will soon be gone. And how do we teach the lessons of the Holocaust to not only Jews, but people throughout the world? And art is just another way to do that. And it was sort of an audacious effort, but I thought that if I could attempt in some small way to portray the feeling of the horror of the Holocaust, that there's an expression, art is long, and if people could see this and perhaps make them think about how to treat other humans in a better way. And I think for the people that have seen the exhibition, it's had a great impact. It's a lot of emotion, a lot of interesting stories about people from the community who came to the Palach Stutzki. And this is a building in art museum in the center of Krakow that was the scene of Nazi rallies in 1944.
Very powerful. Thank you so much for joining us. We've run out of time. It's really been a thrill to interview you and both of you together. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mosaic is brought to you by these generous sponsors and underwriters. Learn how you can support Mosaic by visiting jewishpalmbeach.org/mosaic.